I have run into this really small problem with atheism that is just bugging me. And maybe you can help me figure this out. It's like a grain of sand that is in your bed, and you've taken off your shirt and you're ready to go to bed for the night, and you're kind of trying to get comfortable, and this little thing is just kind of irritating and gnawing at you, and so I just can't figure this out, and so I'm asking for your help. Can you help with this situation? So atheists seem to always be asking for evidence. They claim that Christians never provide any evidence that God is real or that God is who he says he is. Or they say things as bold as, you don't have any evidence. And that really just, that's like a little grain of sand that's just irritating, because it doesn't flow with logic and reality. So the claim of atheist is, if you show me absolute proof in God, I will believe. Now, along with this, you are not allowed to poison the well. You're not allowed to do an ad hominem attack. You're never allowed to say, hey, maybe the person is unwilling to consider that. That's just off the table. We have to subtract that. You're not allowed to say that it could be a willingness issue. But there is a problem with this, and it's that there is no such thing as absolute proof. Now, I want you to ponder this with me. It's a little problem, but it's an obnoxious problem. I think what atheists have done is they have confused absolute truth with absolute proof. And it's really bad to confuse those two things. So, like, for instance, one of the things that my wife and I talk about a lot is, how do you prove love? How do you prove that someone loves another person? There can't be any absolute proof in this regard. You just have to accept the evidence that you're given, take it or leave it, but you're never going to be able to prove it. Now, it can be absolutely true, but that doesn't mean you're ever going to have any absolute proof of it. Oh, my wife came by and kissed me on the cheek. That means she loved me. That's not absolute proof. She cooked me a meal. That doesn't mean she loves me. She said yes to going to my favorite vacation spot. That doesn't prove love. Well, in the same sense, I want you to think about something like the study of gravity, where there is some absolute truths about gravity, but it is still mysterious and beyond our grasp. We can measure the effects of gravity, and then some people are going to get technical and try to label like, no, by measuring the effects, we are actually measuring gravity, except that we don't know what gravity is. We don't have a handle on that. We haven't shown it. We haven't revealed it. All we're dealing with is the objects that gravity is dealing with, but we're no closer to perceiving those things. We're not even touching it with any of our empirical senses. The closest we're getting is touching it intellectually. So there is no absolute proof of gravity. Now, what we can do through scientific testing and whatnot is show consistency and correlation and continuance. Like, yes, this thing becomes reliable, and I believe gravity is a real thing. I believe it's something absolute. But we can't prove that. Tomorrow, we might wake up and the polarity of gravity all of a sudden is reversed. Or let's say it just quit existing. This is a possibility. Now, I'm like you. I don't think that's any more likely than the next person. But this is actually something that we just accept, not something that is actually proven. You really need to kind of like sit down and think through this. So take, for instance, the Professor Tim Maudlin at this point he's been given information. He's been given some scientific, supposed proof or whatnot about the theory of relativity and about space-time. And he's like, you know what? I just reject this. I reject this. Now, that's very interesting, because what he is doing is he's readdressing quantum mechanics in the layman relationship and way. And actually, we're all laymen until we become scientists, are we not? And so he's actually going, like, I'm going to approach this not just from a thought standpoint, but like from a practicality standpoint. I believe time is a real thing. And so he rejects what's previously been stated. But there are people all over the place that are going to say, no, the theory of relativity is proven. No, what it is it is accepted by some, but it is not accepted by everybody. But that takes us back to the philosophical problem, which is mankind free or not? Does he have a free will? And I'm going to say, by all appearances, it sure seems that we are free. Hang on, I'm going to get to the deterministic side in a second. But if mankind is free, then he is also free to reject evidence or proof. He is just free to do this. And there could be a myriad of reasons that one does this. Maybe they don't trust the source of where the information came from. Maybe they don't understand what they're hearing, and the confused mind often says no, like, oh, this information is too out of whack with what I already know and realize, so I have to reject it. So they say, whatever. What if it has really hard implications? It is fixing to start turning over like dominoes, all these other thoughts in our life, and I'm like, that's too big. I'm not going there. That's way too unstable. Or what if it's just against a person's desires? What if it is against, what if the person is just a faulty listener and they're like, I just reject the evidence, and they're not even trying to fit it in. And so we have this question, is there really a free will? And if there is a free will, there can't be any kind of evidence that is absolutely convincing, because mankind has a free will and you can reject it if you choose to. But, that's more kind of the Christian side of things. So let's go to the, naturalistic, deterministic side of things, where everything is just cause and effect. The universe, by accidental processes, has just formed human beings, and it has determined for us these outcomes. And if you're going this direction, if you can't choose your thoughts, if everything is determined and we're just programs that are, firing off by all the circumstances and all the coding that life has given us, then naturalism and the universe has determined conflict. Because there's conflict on just about every thought that mankind has ever had, every concept there's ever been. There's always seems to be two sides of the equation. And so rather than naturalism determining what is true, actually what it has done is determined that there is conflict, and as such, there is no way to ever know the truth. And so I have the question, this, that small little question for the atheist is like, so when you're like, I need absolute proof, I need some evidence, are you saying evidence that will overcome free will? Or are you saying you need evidence in the context of naturalism that never proves anything? Which is it? There can't be absolute evidence in either scenario. But there's a third option. There's a third option. When you hear an atheist say something along the lines of, if I'm ever presented with any real or true evidence, I will believe. I will convert. I will accept that there is a God. But is it not curious, by them making that proclamation, that they have asked us to believe what they're saying on faith alone?